Hi, welcome to Wandering into the Woods, a podcast brought to you by the creators of Adventures with BG. I'm Linda,
And this is Jarrett.
and today we'll be telling y'all about the rescue. As y'all know, Jared and I are passionate adopters of two incredible rescue dogs, BG and Angela. They have been with us for about 10 years each, and we count ourselves very fortunate to have them in our lives. And today, as they are elderly ladies, we struggle with making sure that they have all the adequate care that they need, both medically and emotionally, and that they're always taken care of. But we're still looking for ways to help out other dogs and cats that are out there in need of help. And before we dive any deeper into what we recently did, just as kind of a heads up, just for those who are um, unfamiliar with dog rescues or cat rescues, know that rescuing animals is not for the faint of heart. Every day, volunteers go out of their way to rescue animals in danger of harm, including unnecessary euthanasia. Recently, I decided to go a little bit deeper and stop fearing everything that could go wrong in my attempt to help out more and just jump in to help save a few dogs by doing something as seemingly small as helping them be part of a freedom drive. Jared helped me make sure everything was okay at home so that I could do the transport, and he assisted me when I brought home an unexpected visitor home. In this episode, we'll share one of our most adventurous experiences thus far, and we'll give you a few tips for how to prepare to volunteer for your first freedom ride. On an October Thursday night, I saw a post from a network of dog rescuers. They needed someone to transport 8 puppies from San Antonio to Waco. But I had to work the next day, and I couldn't see myself riding alone with 8 puppies. But then on Friday morning, I was still feeling guilty about it. I texted Jarrett and I don't know, I just sent him the post. I don't know what really I was thinking or looking for, but Jarrett just responded with, "Do it."
Yep.
And it seemed like that was the only push that I really needed. I spoke with my boss, who was very helpful, very supportive and understanding, and my teammates as well. And they were all okay with me signing off early on a Friday afternoon so that I could go and help out these puppies. So I'm really grateful I have such a great spouse and a great work environment. And that allowed me to take off that afternoon and join the rescue. So what I did is I messaged the individuals that were still doing the rescue. They no longer needed transport all the way from San Antonio to Waco, but they did need help from San Antonio to Austin. So I offered to go drive down to San Antonio to pick up the dogs, which were at this point 10, not just the original 8, and transport them to Austin. I messaged this is all being done through Facebook. It's one volunteer who coordinates a lot of rescues in South Texas completely on her own. She doesn't use spreadsheets or anything like what you would call your traditional organized office system. It's based off purely volunteer Facebook posts and messages. So it was a little, especially because it was last minute, it was a little confusing. But we ended up meeting. So I arrived there and I'm really nervous, um, completely unprepared. Fortunately, I had some sheets, and the first volunteer I met there who had 8 puppies for me to pick up had some sheets and some extra kennels to help me with. So what we did is we set up the 8 puppies in the back, completely by themselves, in the back of the car. There were
Well,
no kennel. We set up some sheets underneath.
explain what your car is because that sounds like a trunk or a back seat
Oh, thank
in a
you.
car. So,
So we have a RAV4, and so what happens is you can pull up the back seats so that they're properly put in place, and that creates like a little back crate area for the dogs, and that's where we ended up putting them, so that the puppies, the smallest puppies,
mhm.
with sheets, and the volunteer saw that I was clearly in over my head. This was my first time doing that. Fortunately, the truck had rubber mats, but I really she helped me set up the sheets over it, and we put the puppies there. Guys, I'm going to tell you, young puppies, they're messy. Like, she had just bathed them, but they were already dirty. I'm very sensitive to smells. I was feeling sick already. I was like, "How the heck am I gonna do this?" And I just told myself, "Linda, you don't have the option. You're gonna have to get through this." So they got in, we got them all in the bag, the smallest puppies, which were yipping and yapping. One of them seemed to have an infected tail as well. And then we loaded an older dog in the middle seat, and I started taking off towards Austin. On the way, as I was 20 minutes in, I got a message that I actually missed another dog coming in from a separate rescuer. So I drove back another 20 minutes, got the another dog who was dog antisocial. So he was, I don't know, maybe he was friends with Angela. He had to be in the front. He loved attention, and so we put him in he was in the front with me. And the smell was not the most pleasant, and the dogs were busy. Most of the puppies were yapping away, and the dog next to me was really talkative and let me know that he was
Mm-hmm.
not pleased with my driving constantly.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, we talked a lot. And so I just drove a lot with my windows down. And it was Friday afternoon, so you can imagine how bad the traffic was from San Antonio to Austin.
On I-35 specifically.
Exactly. So somehow my settings were a little bit off their normal settings basically, and
What settings? Your settings
my
are off?
my Google Maps
Oh, okay.
settings. So it actually put me on the toll road,
Oh, okay.
and I got on the toll road and to transport them, and I was able to get from San Antonio to Austin after about 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got to Austin, I opened. I no before I opened up for the puppies, which I felt horrible about because I really wanted to check up on them. But the other dog next to me really needed to go. He made a mess because, of course, he was nervous. And it made a mess of himself outside, but it was still, a mess. I was trying to deal with that. He ran away from me at some point. Um, and then, so I finally got him on a leash, and I'm kind of like weighing over my head. I'm kind of scared to opening up the back of the car with all the puppies without somebody else being there. They find the person that was transporting them from Austin to Waco finally arrived. She, of course, she has a similar vehicle, but she's way more prepared. She has like a bunch of kennels in her vehicle, a bunch of like sheets and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're like loading the finally open up the trunk. The puppies are okay. I mean, they're puppies, so they're very resilient, but all of them were energetic, eager to get out except for one. And this one puppy was very lethargic, very asleep, just didn't seem to be really aware of what was going on. Keep in mind this, as I mentioned earlier, this was all done at the last minute, so I was thinking like, I don't know that this dog is going to to see a vet before I take them before their next ride or on their in their next destination, and this dog really needs attention. And so I made a last minute decision, and I brought the puppy home with me. And Jarrett and our friends were really patient. Jarrett, in the meantime, went and picked up our groceries, and then he went and met our friends in the meantime. Um, I get home, I bathe the puppy. So I don't remember if I fed the puppy first or if we bathed her first. But at some point, I thought, after bathing her, I thought they were a boy. I thought I was pretty good about telling genders in puppies. Apparently, I'm not.
Not at all.
So I thought the puppy was a boy, and I was referring to the puppy as a male at this point. And then we did make sure their dog food, because we don't have puppies, we have elderly dogs. So we put together dog food, rice, and cream of mushroom in the blender with some water and a little bit of milk, and that's the gruel we made up on the spot while we got the puppy some more appropriate puppy food. And that's what the puppy had for dinner
Mm-hmm.
while Jared got home. And Jared, you want to tell us about meeting this puppy?
Sure. After we fed it. Linda wanted it cleaned up because she said they made a mess, so she took a shower with it.
Ah, okay, so that was the order. Okay.
Yeah, and washed the puppy. She let it just hang out too long in the shower, so it got real cold. So essentially, the rest of the night was just sitting with it under a blanket.
I'm sorry, I just didn't know any better.
Yeah,
I thought it was okay.
doing skin to skin contact, so it would warm up. So that took a while.
That's a lesson learned. You don't want to shower with a puppy. You want to have a warm bath and then make sure that, that
Yeah,
they're
because
drying up.
these puppies were probably like 6 to 8 weeks. So if it had
Yeah.
been older, it probably would have been fine. But it was real little.
Hmm.
That gruel may have actually been the first time that it had solid food. So it was like right at that age where it could start. But
We had been
may,
told that they had been being fed gruel
okay, yeah.
and it
So
was blended. So,
that may have been the age where it could have been the first, or it might not have been. But very close to one of the first semi-solid meals that it had.
hmm.
Yeah, so that was the rest of the night. It got cleaned up, or I guess I named it Lindo because Lindo thought it was a boy, and then it came home and it was not. It was clearly a little girl,
But
and
why did it have to be named after me?
why wouldn't it be? You rescued Lindo,
Oh my god.
so it was named in honor and tribute to Linda. But yeah, so got the puppy warm. Uh, she started doing much better on her own, and that was essentially I left after that for a game night, and
Ah, okay.
Linda, because she brought Lindo home,
Hmm.
stayed with the puppy after. And so once it was warm, I got back, like 2 hours later, and that was the end of it. We pretty much went to sleep at that point.
Hmm.
We put Lindo in our bathroom with some blankets and stuff
Hmm.
and went to bed.
Yeah, we went to bed. It had a dog warmer too,
Hmm.
to make sure it stayed warm. And Lindo slept for a good that night. I guess they got a good night's sleep because they slept for a good 6 hours, right?
Yeah, at least till 4.
Yeah. And at 4 guys, nobody had told me this. Puppies need constant care and attention.
Yeah, they have to go to the bathroom every 4 hours. So when you're housebreaking or house training a puppy, you got to take them outside like at least every 4 hours.
And just to give y'all a picture of the puppy, beautiful puppy we were dealing with, she was a shepherd, German shepherd mix.
Maybe.
But it's what it looked like.
She could have been a mastiff. She was going to be giant.
Yeah, she's going to be huge, but she was also very smart, and she was picking up pretty quickly, even though we had diaper pads in there. That basically we were there to provide her attention, and that if she needed to go out, she needed to holler at us.
Hmm.
And so at 4 o'clock, she was barking and crying and needed our attention. And Jerry was so good about taking her out to go potty, feeding her, coming back in. Jerry, you want to tell us about those visits or
Sure.
those outings?
I mean, in the morning, you went. I thought you went in there the first time
Probably.
for the very first in the morning. But she did fine early on, and then towards like normal morning hours, like 8 o'clock, she started doing not so great again.
How so?
I know she just got lethargic, remember, and she
Oh,
wouldn't
that's
eat the
true.
gruel. She ate the gruel the night before, but she would not eat it in the morning.
Mhm.
She got cold again somehow,
Mhm.
so that was a thing. After that, spent time warming her up, but we also went to HEB and Walmart.
Yes,
And
Jared did a trip for groceries for Lindo.
yeah, so we got puppy chow, some soft puppy, food that comes in the can that you spoon out, and it's like potted meat, and also goat milk. And they said that was one of the best things next to puppy formula, I guess, that you could get. So
Right, and next to dog's milk. So
yeah,
what's happening in the meantime, I found out Friday night that apparently the rescuer that if Lindo had continued on her journey on to the next visit for that night, she would have been able to see a vet that night, which I was not aware of.
yeah, I don't think that was true. I don't think any of them saw a vet because
That
later in the story, I just met a man in a parking lot. So and
well,
he
that
slept there.
yeah, that's what I had been told, and we had been told that, and so the rescuers that we reached out to, they recommended get goat's milk and other puppy food, and that should help her out in the meantime.
Yeah. So then Linda also bathed her again, but she did it in a bathtub when I got back.
Mhm.
And we warmed her up, so it didn't take as long. But she spent a little time under the blanket doing skin to fur contact again. But then after that, it was pretty simple. She would cry, and we would take her outside, and then she would go potty out there. And she was definitely learning, real young to get housebroken.
Mhm.
Then we had friends over that night, but I didn't really participate as much because I was hanging out with Lindo
And watching Thanksgiving with her.
and watching Thanksgiving. So we spent the night hanging out, and Linda played with friends who were in our house.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that entire night she did fine. The next morning she did fine, but that next morning, was the end. Even though we offered to
Foster
foster
her.
her, they were like, no, she's got to go to Ohio, Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah, for some reason. So they wouldn't let us just keep her, even though they allegedly were going to bring them back to Texas.
They could,
Yeah,
we're interested in adopting her.
yeah. So
But the problem is we're already, as we mentioned earlier, we're taking care of 2 elderly dogs already, and we are pretty sure Lindo is going to get massive.
yeah. So we would have fostered her for a while had they let her stay, but that just wasn't in the cards, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, the next morning I drove her up to Athens, which is near the DFW area.
Mm-hmm.
So I woke up at, I don't know, like 5 or something
Right.
and started the trip. Drove up there, met, one of these transport rescuers in a Walmart parking lot where they
Mm-hmm.
had slept.
A lot of these, this is they're made up at Walmart parking lots, HEB parking lots, because they're
Yeah.
public, it's easy to find, good lighting, etc. So, um, at least that was my experience.
So I dropped, Linda off with this driver. I gave the food and the milk, which they gladly took, and so that they said they still had a little more time to prep. I think they were just getting dogs organized and maybe potting them and feeding them,
Mm-hmm.
giving them water, and that was it.
So you say goodbye.
Yeah,
Yeah. I bet that broke your heart a little bit.
yeah, it was sad, but
Yeah. Thank you for taking care of her. And I don't know. I was really sad as I was saying goodbye to her.
yeah.
She's a cutie.
And then so just tips: have the right food, make sure they stay warm, especially if they're real little. That'll be a big thing.
Well, you're taking us into what would be the lessons learned.
Yeah. Okay.
So, anyone, at least from my perspective, anyone can help rescue animals, whether it's through transport, fostering, volunteering, or adopting. You just need the will to learn, the patience to ask questions, and to give yourself some grace. Items that I would recommend that you would need for a successful rescue transport: kennels, which I did not have, and the other rescuers were gracious enough to share with me. Clothes you are not attached to, that I did take. So, yeah, because they will get dirty. Lots of sheets and blankets, preferably already spread around your vehicle and your kennels.
A tarp probably wouldn't be bad either. Having a plastic
I
layer down.
agree. A tarp would be awesome.
Or Tyvek.
Mm-hmm. Lots of, like I said, lots of sheets and blankets, disposable latex gloves. This will help you with those animals that might be injured, if you want to treat their cuts, etc. Uh, you also want to have spare leashes for those bigger dogs, filled water bottles, bowls, bandages, and other first aid equipment, gas in your car, patience, and the contact information of the rescue, such as, unlike me, you should be prepared and ask who you are picking up from and who you are delivering to, where you're picking up and where you are delivering to, and when veterinary assistance could be obtained in case of an emergency for the dogs.
And you didn't mention food. Should they not have food?
Not for mine because it was only an hour. It was only 2 hours.
Okay.
But it would be. That's a great idea. If you can have food, that would be great too.
Mm.
And like you were saying, Jarrett, like it just helps to have these items in mind, be a little bit more prepared. But a lot of times you just learn by doing.
Yeah.
And that's the way you learn. But keep in mind when it comes to dog rescues, try to do your research, try to know who you're working with. This person I was following, they do a lot of rescue missions down in South Texas, so I've known for a while that that's what they do. But you have to be careful about who you're talking to, who you're dealing with, and make sure that those dogs are going to reputable organizations. If you would like to help with the rescuing of dogs, there are plenty of official and more coordinated groups out on Facebook. One of the groups is Transport Texas. They have a very well organized system where if somebody creates a post, or needs a transport, they make a post about it, and then they add it to an Excel spreadsheet. And once they find the moderators find transport, they add it to the spreadsheet and they update the post. And this ensures that everything is well coordinated and makes sure that everybody's up to date on the information regarding the dogs or cats that are being transported. Jared, do you have any other tips or lessons learned?
No, I think you covered everything.
Okay. Well, thank you for your support,
Yeah.
encouraging me to go rescue them, helping me out as I was doing that, and also for taking such good care of Lindo and then transporting Lindo to meet back her litter mates.
Yep.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Looking for more adventure inspiration? Read about some of Jarrett's and my adventures over the years at www.adventurouswithbg.com. Those are the letters B and G. To see some of the pictures from our adventures, follow Adventures with BG on Instagram and Facebook.
If you like the podcast, and you like what you hear, if you could take the time to give us a 5 star on iTunes, that would be great. You can also now leave ratings on Spotify. So if you could hit us there too with a 5 star, we'd greatly appreciate it. It helps us grow the show and it helps us get feedback to make the show even better.
And as always, stay safe as you wander into the woods.